I bet it's boring just sitting there listening to nothing while this timer counts down. I don't even know if I like the timer. Seems kind of stupid. Timer. Who cares? It's not like I say anything in the first couple of minutes to where it matters. The chat's not working again. It sucks, but you know, whatever. I'll just have to read. Why isn't my chat working? That is so weird. Let's try this again. Like, it's working there. Why isn't it working anywhere else? Like, this one probably works. It doesn't. None of it works. Oh, that almost worked. Why doesn't chat work? I hate technology. Really, like, there we go. Really, technology of any kind. It's just annoying. Insert Final Jeopardy music. That would be nice. What happens at 0? Nothing. Fucking the timer just goes away. I don't know why I did it. I thought maybe like it would be a nice way to tell people like, hey, stream's starting soon. But in order to use it, the stream has to be started. And why just sit and listen to silence? And Facebook's so damn weird about like music. Anytime you play music, even if it's not copywritten, they're like, this might be copywritten, so you might want to stop playing it. Now I gotta remember which layer is the thing. It's probably the one that says timer. I mean, I should just leave this up the whole Sunday fun day. Just leave it 0. Then I can align it with like sunglasses. What's up, everybody? My camera fucked up. All right, it's Sunday fun day. Nobody's watching. Nobody cares. You should sing the Jeopardy thing to do. That one? It's Sunday fun day. Nobody cares. Nobody's watching. We're just going to talk about the secret. It's open forum day, apparently. Oh, that's a weird eyebrow thing. Open forum day thing, because a lot of people wanted to get on. And even like before the show started, a dude hopped into Zoom because he's really anxious about getting on, but he's working. And I told him to like, you know, get home before you join the Zoom. So yeah, there's that. If anybody wants to get on the Zoom, I'm going to do something. I don't know what. Let's get the invite link. It's been copied to my clipboard. I'm going to put it in Facebook. So you have to be a member of Facebook to be able to use it. Or it will probably just come up on chat. There you go. But you can't see it all. So yeah, if you want to get on, the link is there. It's right there. Or it's actually on Facebook. It sucks for YouTube people, but like, you know, you have to read some requirements. Like, you have to not have been banned for being a dick to be on this show. That's really the only requirement. Like, I don't care what you think. I don't care what you want to say. I don't care what you want to talk about. The only requirement for being on the show is you have to have not been banned from Facebook. And that's a pretty, like, loose requirement, I think. Right? Like, you have to be able to access the show and the link in order to be on. Anyway, I have nothing really to talk about until people actually join. Somebody said that we should open it up to questions and just answer questions. Like, we do that a couple of times, like rapid fire questions. That's fine too if you want to ask a question. I'll actually watch chat this time and I'll answer whatever the hell you want to ask. The meetup's coming up soon. We secured the venue for meetup prior to the thing. And that's going to be at the Mason Lodge in downtown St. Augustine. And I picked that because it's free parking. And in St. Augustine, that's hard as shit to find. And it's a nice big place for everybody to get together and chat. And then we're going to walk over to the oldest schoolhouse because, like, it's going to be a whole bunch of secret shit there. The St. Augustine painting is going to be there. A bunch of concept sketches, notes from Byron, some fair folk. Some you have seen, and some you haven't seen. Some photos from Ben. Somebody jumping on Zoom? It looks like they are. Photos from Ben, yada, yada, yada. There's a lot of stuff. Shit from Byron's desk. Shit with Byron's handwriting on it. Lots and lots of stuff. JJP interview. Yeah, I was working on it today. Like, I keep changing shit. I'm just waiting on him. That last I heard, his wife is, I've said this a billion times. Every Sunday I say the same thing. His wife is doing her master's and she's not at the house. And if we're being honest, like most men who are getting up there in age, John relies on his wife for a lot of stuff. And I think her not being there is just kind of taking a toll. So he's not doing anything. I've talked to him a couple of times, but not really about anything major. Like, I sent him that newspaper article and he got a copy of it. And we talked about the Aragon TV show a little bit. He just keeps saying, like, I'm going to call you. I'm like, all right. It's the same reason we haven't said anything on his page about the meetup yet. It's like, we got to talk first. I'm not saying he's going to be there, but he's probably going to say some shit about it. Yeah. So, like, if we're being honest, it was a breakthrough for me. Like, that interview, like, people have messaged me and they're like, hey man, you said it was groundbreaking for you. Like, it changed your outlook on The Secret. And they want to know what changed it. And while it changed my outlook on The Secret, it's probably not going to change yours that much. Like, I was watching it again today and it's like, we know this. It's a lot of stuff that he's already said. And if he didn't change your mind before, it's probably not going to change your mind again. So yeah, it's good. It's fun. It's funny. I think, maybe, I don't know. My humor is not for everybody. And his humor is so subtle that nobody gets it ever. I don't know that it might. It's going to change some stuff. That's for damn sure. But it's not like explosive. It's not like he's like, we buried a cask in Mexico. It's nothing like that, you know? I'm hoping, like we've been saying for a couple of years now, like, look at the painting a little differently. I'm hoping it does that. I'm hoping it gets people away from, like, microscopic imaging. I'm hoping it gets people away from, like, 3 and 4 degrees of separation and clues. I'm hoping it gets them to look at the paintings a little differently. It's New Mexico. Yeah. It's in Albuquerque at Fox's house. We have consolation prize for finding the latitude and longitude coordinates. As Jude Palencar was just like, here, have one of these. The moon, yes. So yeah, that's the interview. Like I said, I worked on it a little more today, just adding stuff like visual crap. Like when he's like, this is an arch. I add the arch that he's talking about just so people like don't know, will see. We're talking for like 3 hours, I think. Put more work into this, and it's not that, like, it's good. I like it. It's gonna be exciting. People are gonna enjoy it, but I don't think it's gonna explode everyone's head like it exploded mine. If that makes sense. Which is one of those things, like, you'll understand when you see it. So yeah, everybody was all like, I want to get on Zoom, and nobody's got on Zoom. Where do you think it is? What? Where do I think what is? There's the treasures? There's 9 of them. Which one? I'm thinking it's at the end of the rainbow. Yeah, that's where all the good treasures are. The end of the rainbow. The double rainbow. That's what 2 casts are. The end of the double rainbow. Did I miss when this airs? No. I don't even know when it airs. The treasure in St. Augustine. Where do you think the treasure is in St. Augustine? The island. I think the amphitheater. Where's the meetup? St. Augustine on the 10th of September. September 10th? September 10th. We're starting at the Mason Lodge, downtown St. Augustine. It's right across from the post office because free parking and whatnot. And then we're headed off to the oldest schoolhouse, which is walking distance. So yeah. Treasure in St. Augustine, I think, is at the amphitheater. Please, if you come to the meetup, don't take up the amphitheater. Leave that to me. No, that's kidding. I'm not allowed. Get permission. Take up the amphitheater. So yeah, there we go. Can anyone join the meetup? Newbies. Yeah, just come on down. Sorry, people, this is a question from YouTube. So people on YouTube don't know. It's like it's at 11, just before noon, 11 a.m. In St. Augustine at the Mason Lodge. And then we're going down to the oldest schoolhouse. There's going to be a bunch of art and all kinds of shit from The Secret that nobody's ever seen before. I'm working on a cask. But you know, like how people are like, if I find a cask, I would donate it to the museum and like display it for people to see. People say that shit a lot, but that's not true. It's really hard to get people to be like, send me your cask and let me put it on display. And like, no. So yeah, there's gonna be a lot of stuff. Anybody's allowed to come. There's no charge. It's free. Just come and hang out. It'll be fun. I think, there's a lot of people who are going to be there. I think John Fraser's going to be there. As far as I know, there's a touchy situation, I think, between him and one of the other people that's going to be there that we either have to diffuse or one of them is not going to come. But it's not John's fault. So John's a nice guy. Love John. But, touchy situation. And then like some of the people from the Historical Society are going to be there. We're working on the city archaeologist. I don't know if that's going to happen. That one's a big one. Yeah. I feel it's really weird that people are always like, I can't get anybody to listen to my theory or to talk to me. And it's like, I can get all these people to meet you at a Mason Lodge. Maybe it's your approach. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. Anything else? Is that it? Are we done with Sunday Fun Day? Please, no. Yeah, so Ray wishes they. It's Ray. I don't know if it's a dude or a girl or somewhere in between. So I'll say they wish they were in the area. I too wish you were in the area. It's a nice area. Sometimes not in September, but nice area. So yeah, come on down, hang out, see the painting. That one. People are like discrediting it too. Like I've seen on like, especially on Facebook, like the non-main pages, they're like, it's just a lithograph. He's just going to show you a lithograph. No, it's the real one. If you had a few days in NOLA, what would you do? Drink a lot. Like just grenades and fish bowls. Oh my God. So, and they're like basically free. You just walk down Bourbon Street and you just get trashed and then go to the interesting places in New Orleans. Brody asked the most important question, where are we eating? Oh, Brody. So there's a thing after every meetup. Most people know about it. Most people don't like it. But there's always a dinner afterwards, and it's generally invite only. So yes, Brody, you can come. No, we can't say where it is. Yeah. So New Orleans, I would hang out with Brody, and I would get just trashed on Bourbon Street, and then I would go wherever Brody took me, probably some like heavy metal bar, and we would watch bands. But this, like, the Secret is the last thing I want to do in New Orleans. Like, it's the absolute last. People often ask me, like, will you go searching with me in New Orleans? Because it's kind of driving distance for me. And I'm like, dude, I will 100% go to New Orleans with you, but you will be hard-pressed to get me to pick up a shovel. I will be having too much fun. If I had to dig in New Orleans. I would dig in Storyland now. I really like Storyland, which is part of City Park. But yeah, you'd be hard pressed to get me to pick up a shovel in that city just because of how much fun we would be having. If and when St. Augustine is solved, which city do you think you would focus on most? I don't really focus on St. Augustine right now. Like, I focus on them all. I feel like the puzzle as a whole needs to be understood before cities can, so that's what I'm more focused on. It's not in the French Quarter. Okay. Let's see. Why doesn't someone create a TV show where you listen to people's theories and have a GPR and see if there was something that shows up on the GPR? Well, if we're being honest, that would be a boring TV show. And because you're just looking at lines on a screen, like I get what you're saying. The premise is fun. And there's people that have been talking about doing something like that, especially on YouTube. Like, not really a TV show, but doing YouTube shows. And not really with a GPR, just like, because GPRs they're not the end all be all for finding shit underground. They're actually kind of, I mean, like, I wouldn't put too much faith in them, because you really are just looking at lines, and you see a disruption in the lines and it could be a rock. Like, you have no idea, so you might as well dig. But yeah, like, there should be like a treasure hunting TV show. That would be fun. Why do you think the treasure is in the island? St. Augustine is tough. Again, when is the JJP interview? It's Kathy, for the JJP interview stuff, just go back and watch the earlier part of this. Is Matthew Sparks going to be at the meetup? Dude, I would love that. Probably not, dude. He lives in San Francisco, and he's got a new grandson? I think it's granddaughter. Probably not. But, like, you could just message Matt. He'll talk to you. He's pretty accessible. Why do you think the treasure is in the island? I like the visual matches for the island, not so much the verse matches. But the weird thing about the verse in St. Augustine is, if you're a tourist, which Byron was, a lot of the verse matches that you have for the Fountain of Youth seem really specific. But if you're a local, they're not. They're everywhere in the city. And I like, so you're able to really find them anywhere. And I like some of the visual stuff on the island. I know I'm not normally the visual guy, but you know, this is me, like, this time. Yeah. That's it. I like the amphitheater, but I'm like, I know we did an episode about the amphitheater where Steven was talking about like a pond shaped like Florida, which is a nice area, but I'm more towards the big ass rock at the beginning of the amphitheater, and the giant palm tree. If you ever go to the amphitheater, you look at it at Google Earth, you can't really miss it. It's like 6 foot tall. Yeah, I'm partial to that. There used to be a fence behind it, like if you're driving up into the amphitheater and the rock's over on the left, there was the rock and then the palm tree right behind it, and then there was a fence, like a green picket fence that ran alongside it. But that was torn down a long time ago. It was put up by the Boy Scouts in like the 70s. And then it was torn down a long time ago. There used to be 2 fence posts marking where it was. And where the fence ran, they put these huge, like, 6-ton coquina boulders on top of where the fence was. But anyway, there was a marker that at least showed you where the fence was. But then, like, a drunk redneck ran over it at a Jason Aldean concert like a year ago or something. So that marker is not there. You have to kind of have known where it was. Palms grow so fast. They don't grow that fast. I mean, they do if you take care, like if you trim them, but if you just let them run wild, they don't grow that fast. Do you think they'll ever give permits like in San Francisco? Nope. No. St. Augustine got too much history, and they're far too politically red for that. Like nah, they'll never give permits. So you gotta have like a government that's interested in fun, and also an area that you're not going to destroy. Like what are you going to get in San Francisco? Got no history. I mean, it's got history, but not old enough to where it would be, you know, forgotten about and buried underground. Rednecks, yes. So, like, What are you going to do in San Francisco? You're digging a hole in the ground. You're going to find some crumbled building from the great earthquake or something. You know what I'm saying? You're not likely to destroy some ancient artifact in San Francisco like you are in St. Augustine. So what is one thing you know that no one else does? Well, if I told you, everyone would know. I don't know, I'm thinking. Hang on. That's most of the shit I know we talk about. So, having our time on this one. One thing I know that no one else knows. Seems like St. Augustine and Roanoke have things in common. Yeah, a lot of them. A lot of things in common. Especially in the amphitheater area. Will there be a Roanoke meeting? I was talking to a dude about that last night. Last time we talked about having a meeting in Roanoke, it was threatened that if I were to show up, I would be arrested, even if there were no charges, just to make an example out of me. And then later on, I was told that that was just a joke, and ha ha ha, that's funny. But no. The Parks Department is weird out there. I'm still thinking about the one thing that I know. What do you think a city would do to a person who illegally dug and found a cask? Depends on the city. Roanoke, you go to jail. St. Augustine, you probably get a fine. Like a pretty damn big fine, but a fine. Did you get to see the Maitre Demon at Joe Ellen's place? I've never been to Joe Ellen's place. So what about the parks in St. Augustine? You have been to all, even in the island. Could one of those be a site too? I understand that. Are you able to dig up a cask, or are you excluded? Oh, I'm excluded. I'm not allowed. I'm not allowed to dig up a cask. I take that back. I'm allowed to dig up a cask, but I'm not allowed to claim it. Like if you tell me to go dig somewhere in St. Augustine, I'm allowed to do that for you. And if I find a cask when digging, like, here, it's yours now. I'm not allowed to claim a solve. I'm not allowed to claim a gem. I'm excluded completely. Even going so far with Alex, who dug in Roanoke. With Alex, who has a solution in Roanoke, even he was like, if I find something, I want to give you part of the cask. And I was like, I don't even know if that's possible. But he made it very clear he was going to do that. So yeah, I'm just not allowed. Any meetups planned for San Francisco? Maybe I'll get out to San Francisco sometime soon. After your meeting with JJP, would you agree that the paintings are more important than most people think, meaning there's more to the paintings than most people think? No. I would think, like, after my meeting with JJP, I think there's less. They're less important than you would think, and if you listen to the interview, you probably will too. Can you still register a solve with the back of the book form? No. There's no one that knows the answers anymore. Not even John. Why are you excluded? John Palencar excluded me because he's a friend, and he thought if I were to ever find a cask that people would just assume I had cheated, or like my friend told me. So he said that I wasn't allowed to anymore, and I'm fine with that. Like I guess if it's a choice between being able to claim a cask and having a friend, I'm going to choose a friend all day. So that was it. Left me in a precarious situation with Rachel wanting me to find a gem before we get married, but whatever. So you are claiming to know more than us? No, I'm sitting here trying to think of something that I know that I haven't talked about. Do you have any suggestions for how to approach acrostics or codes hidden in plain text, even in general, not for the secret? Yeah, you got to look for patterns, but not just patterns in what you would think, like not just looking for codes. You have to look at patterns and styles of writing, because once you start introducing code, your normal flow of writing is off, right? Because your normal flow of writing an author's normal flow of writing. Doesn't include codes. It doesn't include choosing specific words for specific things. It doesn't include whatever. So it's going to have little things that are characteristic of the author's writing style, and that's what you should be looking for. Like, if you're reading text and all of a sudden you go like, this word sounds weird here, like it's not something that the author normally would use, that's when you start looking for stuff. That's the easiest way in blocks of text. Like, when you hand me a book, like a full book puzzle, like the Great U.S. Treasure Hunt, for instance, that's the first thing I'm going to look for. Just weird text that doesn't make it doesn't flow stylistically or whatever. Yeah. If the cask is found in St. Augustine, I believe the cask should go to Mr. Fraser. If the cask is found in the Fountain of Youth, John can have the cask. I mean, he's going to take it no matter what. He's not going to give it to anybody. It's his. The cask is found in St. Augustine, goes to whoever finds it. Fountain of Youth, you don't have a choice. It goes to John. Do you do any other treasure hunts since you don't do this one? If you and a friend were to dig up a cask, who would you donate it to? My friend? I don't know. Nobody wants it. I don't know who to donate. I don't know. I heard you say when I saw the 12 paintings, then you stopped. I've been curious ever since. When I saw the 12. When did I say that? Oh, yeah. The last Sunday Fun Day, when I almost said something I shouldn't. Yeah, you'll find out. 2 of the paintings show an object. Do you think the other paintings show nearby objects for actual objects in relation to digging? Basically, you're talking about site confirmers. I think we went about that wrong for years, right? Like, we always assumed, we called them like dig confirmers or whatever it was, dig site indicators, whatever the hell we used to call them, I don't remember, because we thought you dug right next to the fence post or whatever. And when we had the planner, we had two examples out of 12 puzzles, and one of them we had the wrong dig spot area. And I think when Josh Gates asked John if there's going to be something in the painting right next to where you need to dig, and he said not always, I think that was what he's talking about. I think there's going to be some sort of visual indicator, but if you look at like the New York painting, for instance, it's not a whole lot there, right? There's not a whole lot that could be a dig site indicator, especially nothing as blatant as like the fence post or home base or whatever. So no, I really think after listening to John, that the paintings, like, the puzzles get more difficult because they get more verse heavy and there's less shit in the paintings to go off of. And in New York, there's practically nothing. It's all verse. I mean, nobody's ever going to believe me when I say that, but that would go back to no, I guess it wouldn't, because I don't know that for sure. But yeah, New York's probably going to end up being, I'd say I'm like 98% sure, like that there's just not a whole hell of a lot in that painting to help you. Like, it tells you New York, and then off you go. Yeah. So the wedding's still on with Miss Rachel, and will be held at the big meet. No, we're not getting married at the meetup. Yeah, I mean, ultimately we're gonna get married, I guess. You can keep the key and Jim and give John the cask if it's in the foyer. Yeah, that's it. You get to keep. So John's thing at the Fountain of Youth, if you dig, the agreement that you make is he keeps the cask and key if the turning in the key is not required for the gem. If turning in the key is required for the gem, you get to keep the key and trade it in, and you can keep the gem. Either way, you get to keep the gem. He keeps everything else. And he builds like a big thing with your information. It's like a big display with your story and all kinds of stuff. It's a really cool idea. I've seen like the concept sketches and stuff for it. It's really, really nice. Are you 100% on Houston, or could Dallas be in play? No, it's Houston. There's no reason for it to be in Dallas. Dallas doesn't fit the mold of the cities. It doesn't fit the theme. Byron said it was in Houston. So yeah. Do you know the painting order? Nope. Robert said hello. Hello, Robert. Florida's worse than New York, in my opinion. Maybe. I mean, who's to say, really? Like, both of those paintings, you don't really have anything concrete. You've got the rock, which has a pretty good match. You've got the fort, which has a pretty good match. You have an alligator head and the outline of Florida, right? That's the Florida painting. The gist of the Florida painting that we know for sure. The rest is just conjecture. And then in New York, you've got Times Square, you've got the Eagle, you've got Statue of Liberty. The rest is up to conjecture. We would love to see. Oh, her. Oh, yes. I love Rachel as well. I believe JJP knows the locations of all the casts. Maybe not exact locations. If we presented a theory and it was correct but not retrievable, would he confirm it? No. Because he doesn't know the locations, right? And here's the thing. He knows he could get you pretty damn close to a cast. It's pretty damn close. He could tell you what you need to look for. He could tell you kind of the theme you should be working around. He could get you he could get you in a park, probably. I mean, judging from Boston, he didn't seem to know Pupilo Park, but he knew Ballfield. So he could get you in a general area. That's Douglas. But he couldn't tell you where to dig. I have to switch over to Zoom because we have a Zoom person now. Hang on one second. Zoom makes me look ugly. I hate the quality of Zoom. What's up, Douglas? You hopped into Zoom during work? Are you a doctor?
I'm a nurse, actually.
You're a nurse. Okay.
But what happened was that I wanted to explain that I'd be a little bit late and that I had to drive home, change, and everything like that. So that's why I want to make sure that the link worked and if I was invited to come on to Zoom.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. It's
I
like
wanted
a
to say hi.
today.
Thank you for inviting me on. Great podcast. I've been watching it since I ran into a video with your solve with Alex Sweeney.
Yeah.
And Roanoke. And then I've watched 2 more podcasts with your situation. One was the anagram guy.
Yeah.
And then the other one was about how you're trying to discuss about the fair people.
Yeah.
And how it relates with the verses and things like that. So I was very excited with your community. It was great. I mean, it's amazing how you guys all come together, do your inputs and your ideas, and it's fantastic. With our combined effort, I think we'll be very successful.
Yeah. Yeah. Even if we don't find a cast, it's still really fun to just be part of the community. Like the community's really, I enjoy it.
Oh, you guys have great jokes and everything like that too. I noticed that when you talk with Alex, and I saw your baseball situation, right? And you were talking. Alex was talking about home plate, at Roanoke, and I kind of been working on this puzzle since November of 2019, from when Josh Gates did his deal with Boston. And got inspired. And so I have a few ideas about Roanoke that I wanted to go over.
Yeah, we can totally do that. But I have one very important question to ask you first.
Sure.
The shirt that's behind you, is that like a lab coat? Because that thing is awesome and I would rock it.
Oh,
what?
I'll show it to you. That is the Hawaii state flag.
Is it? Okay. Being an American, I don't know much about states.
Yes.
But
I'm from Hawaii, and that is our state flag.
Which island are you from?
We carry Oahu.
Oh,
yeah.
Oahu.
I was born and raised there, and I joined the Army. And I married her. That's Matt now.
You were you're
So
breaking up a little bit. I
if
think
you
I got the
notice, our
gist of it.
flag has. Okay, sorry.
No, you're good.
I joined the army, and I married a Pittsburgher. Yeah, and then
Oh
Pittsburghers don't leave Pittsburgh.
no, no,
So that's
that's
what it is.
horrible.
It's the state flag. That's
I,
okay. I guess
I don't know.
this is
I
the
had to.
best place to hide if you're Hawaiian. No one will ever find you here.
Yeah, that's true. I had to drive through Pittsburgh, and I drove down. I don't remember the name of the road, but it was like a main highway kind of road, and it was the shadiest place I have ever been in my entire life. I was
Oh
scared.
man, Philadelphia is worse. All
I can imagine.
right, excellent.
Let's talk about Roanoke.
Okay, so I saw your verse is 11, and the image is number 3, right? And it leads you past the Wright brothers, down Route 12, across the bridge, ride the Man of Oz, over to Roanoke. And then you're into the dark forest, right? Headed towards Fort Riley, and then possibly the Elizabethan Gardens, and then also Virginia Dare's statue, and also that granite stone in July and August. So I've been working on this since you made the announcement of that baseball field of Westcott baseball field, and I've been hammering away. It was like the Rosetta Stone for me that inspired me to start looking at it. I said, the home plate wasn't fitting exactly correctly, or there was no success toward that. And I thought, okay, let's look at it and try a different approach, right? So I maintained the Westcott Park, right, and decided to use first base, right? And then I've been noticing when you look at the rebus of the Westcott Park, you have one lion, and then you have that L, which is actually like a scythe, an L, and then you're missing the other line, which I think is the key in the cask. The solved puzzles that we've had in the past, all their keys have a lion on it. So the logo of the Lions Club has 2 lions. One is facing towards the west, and the other one is facing toward the east.
Yes, but I don't know if was it like that in the 80s. Because I remember I can't remember, and I'd have to look. I had to send a message to somebody not too long ago because they were also talking about Westcott, and if I remember correctly, like the sign for Westcott Park just had 1 lion on it back in the 80s. But either way, like I get what you're saying though. You need 2 lions. One is the key. Curious how you got to first base though.
Okay, so you need 2 lions, and it's kind of a play of words. It sounds like lines, 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 right? So I said to myself, what has 2 lines on a baseball field? When you look from home plate to first base, there's a running lane. There's the foul line itself, and at the 45-foot mark, which is the middle of this baseline, it starts a running lane, which is 3 feet wide on one side and 3 feet wide on the other. And it's 45 feet to the first base, and it's meant for the runner to run on that outside lane so he doesn't interfere with the ball toss, right? So I see the only place in the baseball field that has 2 lions is that running lane. And then it kind of dawned on me that the running lane could also be known as a runway. So if you go to first base, right, and the reason why I picked first base is that this whole entire verse talks about first flight, first colony, first birth, first establishment of the fort, first baptism of Manteo, and also Virginia Dare. And it's always about one. And when you look at the scarecrow itself, that baseball that Alex pointed out on the left shoulder, when you're looking at it, it's actually the right. It looks like a one. And then the one that's on the middle of his chest looks like a one. And then when you turn him completely upside down, it looks like a one, right? So the theme of this particular verses is a one, 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 one. So I went to the first base. And then I took the verse, you may be last touched or first seen standing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That I realized in the Boston puzzle that they use the word feel at home. And that's where his cask was. So I thought, Byron said go to first. Or first seen standing. When you throw the first, you're running toward it. And if you get thrown out, you never touched it. But if you go there and you make it, you'll be first seen standing there. So I go to the next verse where it says, under that which was last seen, first seen standing, look north at the wing, right? I aligned it in Google's map with the first base, and north goes straight up that first baseline right to the Wright brothers monument. So I think Byron is telling you to go back to that halfway mark. See, the two lines have an L. The L is a Roman numeral 50, right? And 50 and 50 is even. And is the only place that has two lines. So I start thinking, okay, the verse is trying to give you a 2 to 1, 2 to 1, 2 to 1, 2 to 1 the whole time. When you look at the flag of the British, the St. George flag, it's actually a cross, two lines, right? That L and that middle portion of that first line has an L. You see, I wish, is there a way for me to show you pictures on here?
Yeah, you can do screen share. I'll turn it on.
Thank you.
Oh, well, I guess I can't do that. You have to. Let me see.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. No. You're good. You should be able to screen share now.
Okay. So,
You have frozen.
Oh, I'm frozen. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good. Just didn't know if we lost you.
Okay. So how do I post some pictures? Oh, there it is. Okay, got it. I have pictures that are stored. Let me just use my phone here. Hang on.
Either way.
A little nervous. I'm sorry.
No, don't be nervous. There's nothing to be nervous about, I promise you.
Okay. This is the running lane.
Yeah.
But it's in reverse, okay? Because you're seeing it through the camera.
Yeah.
You see how it's two lines and it makes an L? It goes directly in half of the first baseline. 50-50. 50-50, right? That's the Roman numeral of the L. When you look at the scarecrow, hang on, I have this here. Yeah, when you look at the scarecrow, he's cut in half. He's got a left arm, a right arm, and he's in half, even though he's leaning to the right. or excuse me, this way.
Yeah.
He's leaning that way, right? But the arms are equal to each other. Okay. And the reason why I picked the baseball field too, just to remind you, was that the red skirt that he has covers the red clay that's in the baseball field. That's that. There was one phrase in the verse that I got a little bit confused on, where white is in color.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was the white bases on the red clay in two different maps, because you have two baseball fields there.
Right.
And you want to go to the one that's elevated higher, which is on the right side of those two baseballs. See, the Lions club will be all the way left, and then you go all the way right, and you'll be in his stomach area, for this particular baseball field.
Okay.
Okay. So again, there's two baseball fields, and you have one half of it, right? Half, everything's L and everything like that. So I decided to look at the Wright Brothers Memorial, and when you look at the side of that quote, to achieve by dauntless resolution and inconquerable
Determination.
yes, determination. That side of the Wright Brothers Museum memorial has an L directly in the middle of that phrase. It's in resolution. That word is missing in our verse, right? When I looked at that L, and I'm saying that it's half of that particular side, it split it in half, and that word resolution is missing. So I'm wondering if Byron wanted to highlight that, because it's completely gone. Due to the anagram guy that said, hey, he can make the words mix with the letters, I plugged the resolution word into the anagram app,
Mm-hmm.
and I came up with this. Well, here, I have one picture. I wanted to show you what I mean. Resolution is directly dead center with that L. It's highlighted. In fact, that L has a line through it too that looks just like that first base runway.
Okay.
I'll show you. Hang on.
No, I mean, I get what you're saying, but yeah.
Yeah. So I decided to put it in the anagram program, and I got these words. Sorry, I'll read it to you. Line outs, outlines, outliner, and solution. Okay. So when I was looking at some portions of the puzzle, I realized that a lot of the symbolism is on the outside of the first base lines. That when you look at his arm and his symbols that he has on his arm, it shows the two lines of the first base and the key hanging outside of it, right? So I also focused in on the clover that's on the four-leaf clover that's on his chest, right? That four-leaf clover says that if you hold it in medieval times, right, you can see the fairy. So I decided to look at the fairy on this picture, look at the fairy on that's holding the ball, right? and it has two lines just like the first base. And the other thing is really hard to see, but it's starting to make a cross onto his knee, just like the flag of the British, right? The British flag or the English flag. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
You see the quad
I mean,
I'm talking about?
I don't necessarily see it, but I get what you're saying.
Right. So what I saw in this is that it's focusing on the English flag, the St. George flag. And if you line it up, hang on. If you line it up, with the first baseline, the English flag will grab those two first baselines and stick out and line up with the batter's box, the batter circle on deck. So it has dimensions. That running lane is exactly 3 feet open, and the English flag is 2-to-1. Whatever size, the standard is a 2-to-1 ratio. So if you do 3 feet to get to the corner and then make it 6 feet to make the rectangle, you will have 3 feet this way. And the other aspect is that the leg of that ferry is at an angle through that quad, and it's pointing there. I want to also point out that when you look at the memorial from the top view, you can recreate the same flag, the same angle, and the destination of the cask falls on the word fate, which is that corner of that triangle. So this is here at the top is the word genius, and you consider that as first base. And then you go out to, that's home plate. Then you go out to first base, and that's where it's pointing towards the word fate, right? This triangle on top of this pentagram of stars actually is, it's spirit, air over earth. Faith goes right to earth. What I'm trying to say is that you stand here, the word is actually sometimes mind too. This particular symbol is mind. So genius and mind is there. That first point is considered air for the Wright brothers. And then when you draw those lines together and you find you're at the end of fate, it's pointing directly to earth where the cask is buried in. It's not in the air, it's in earth.
So there was something that confused me at first, and then there was a comment about it, so I'm assuming it's confusing other people too. I'm just going to say this. No, it's nothing you did. You explained it well, but it's something that a lot of Americans don't know unless they've looked into it. So Bobby Carroll asked about the British flag, and what he's thinking of when you talk about the British flag is the Union Jack, but you're actually talking about the St. George flag. It's two different flags.
No.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I liked everything you said, and when you hit first base, I was like, yes, I'm right there with you. Like I get exactly what you're saying, and then after you left first base, you lost me, and I understand what you're saying, but I just like it seemed like an exercise in overthinking. because we were using the verse, we were using the image, we were using them in conjunction, and that's all we needed. And then when we got to first base, it's like, let's go check out the St. George flag and look at a symmetrical shape with square. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm wondering, because I liked it. I liked what you were saying. Like, this is you're the first person that I've talked to. I've talked to a lot of people about first base, second base, third base. People are all over this park, and they never really have a good reason for being there. And I liked your getting to first base probably better than any person that I've heard. Why?
I have a reason why we're at that park.
Okay.
When you look at the Roanoke drawing next to the window, there is a string that goes down it. And then there's a little bell with a line that comes out of it. Right.
Yeah.
That line, if you draw that line straight out to this string, you're in Manteo, right next to that ballpark. Right? It's close. But the other thing that I found was, to point out that park, was your driftwood.
Yeah, Driftwood Ave.
This tip where driftwood is, I wish I wasn't so backwards. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Is the shape of the ferry.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah, it's got his legs. Hang on, that's not it.
That was a cool cup.
Oh yeah. That explains the patch too that you see there. Okay, hang on, sorry. Okay. All right. There's his legs, the short leg and the long leg. It rolls to his belly, and then it goes straight up his arms. Okay. When you draw that line from that bell and that string that comes down to that Roanoke picture, it is that intersection for driftwood.
Okay.
If you look at Google Maps, it's really close to each other. And then I know that somebody had asked about in July and August, right? In July and August, both months are equal. 31 days for July and 31 days for August. They're halves of each other, one for the left, one for the right. And the other thing is that during July and August is the zodiac sign for Leo. So you have the lion there, and it's focusing for you to go to the Lions Club. And then you also have the fairy that's there pointing out. The other thing that keeps coming up on the puzzle is the number 3, 3 points for the triangle on top of the Wright Brothers Museum. And then there's when you draw a 3, it looks like it's like a half, a straight line down, a straight line in the middle, down, and then another straight line. It looks like 2 L's joined together, and then you have a half mark. So you have first base at the top, half mark, and then you go to home plate. That's the 3, right? The other thing about the 3 is that to fly a plane, you need to be able to go forward, lift your nose up and down, and also turn left to right. So in order for you to go that way, it's called pitch, yaw,
and roll,
and thrust.
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay. Well, there's also roll.
Roll is like yaw.
Okay.
Right. Moving. Yeah. So I took the St. George flag and I put it on top of the spoon that's coming down on that line.
Mm-hmm.
And the spoon's angle that cuts the quad is exactly the same as the same angle as that fairy's leg. So it's pointing to that corner. I have one more piece of paper. Just a moment.
Sure. Oh, that's a cool Rage shirt.
Oh yeah, I went to their concert. They were here the other day.
Oh, nice. I didn't even know they were still touring together.
Yeah, they started off with says "Fear is your only god." You know,
nice.
That's what's broadcasting, and I barely can hear still.
I want to go see Rage. I saw Rage like way back in the day. They played with the Wu-Tang Clan. It was probably the best concert I've ever seen.
Oh yeah. Hang on. I have it. Just a moment. I have one piece of paper that I wanted to show you.
Okay. Hi.
Okay. You know, he's carrying a watch on his left arm. That stopwatch.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's carrying that watch, right? And it's pointing to the number 1. Correct. So if you look at the clock, it's actually the flag. If you can make the flag onto that watch. And each number, 1, 2, and 3 are evenly spaced in that right angle zone. So if you take that angle, it's 30 degrees each, right? Another 3, by the way, 30 degrees each. And when you form it, it looks like the Westcott sign. Let me show you. I drew it.
Okay.
See, it's that with the Lions Club over here, the Westcott sign, and that's the angle of that leg that is there. So it's on the picture where the spoon is. You can lay the cross and the flag onto the spoon, and you can make a quad and then find that the cask is directly on one of those angles, like the spoon is a shovel, right? Going back with the Wright brothers memorial, when I told you about the anagram of taking resolution and going to the outer lines, the cast location is outside of those 2 first base lines, and that corner is pointing toward it. So I said, how far do we have to go, right? It's already giving you numbers. It's giving you 3 feet on the outside lane and 3 feet on the inside lane. And if you make the flag, it has to be 2-to-1 ratio. And when you lay it out, it will make that design. So I made a picture of the possibility of where it may be located on that baseball field from first base.
I'm pulling up, I'm giving you an exclusive.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. I'm giving you an exclusive. It's a quote from Jude Palencar.
Oh,
I just have to look at it and make sure I don't give anything away, like his email address or whatever.
okay.
Hang on. Oh, can I do it like this? No. Yep, I can. There we go. So I emailed John about last Sunday Funday. We talked to a guy who was building like a mathematical and 3D model of Herman Park, right? Mm-hmm. You can't see this quote, but I'm going to read it to you. And it's probably my favorite quote from John Palencar, and I'm going to use it for the rest of my life in situations like this. I sit in this 3D model, and I was like, it's so cool the way he's trying to work this out. And John emailed it, and I told him all the math behind it, and like all the angles and the heights and the measurements that he was doing. And John messaged me back, and he's like, what a great guy trying to figure out this deviant illustration. Math was never my forte.
I see. Okay. I got you.
It's going to be my go-to quote from now on. Math was never my forte.
Okay. I got you.
I go back to what I was saying before. Like, I really liked everything you said until you got to first base, and then you lost. You completely lost me. And I'm judging from the comments that, like, everybody's very respectful and everybody likes the way you're explaining things, but I think you lost other people too. Like, I really don't understand why you would leave first base.
Yeah. The verse that says, look north at the wing is telling you to go towards home plate. And that's why you're going to go back from first base to that middle line.
But home plate is not north.
If you stand on the first base and you do Google North or Google Maps, first base you'll be looking at home plate, and then you'll be looking at the Wright Brothers Memorial looking north.
Well, okay, so just so we're clear, if we're at Westcott Park, there is no way to see the Wright Brothers Memorial. There's no way to do it.
But it was like a hint to tell you to look towards the home plate, to go back to the middle.
But
and I guess what I'm trying to say is that, okay, we're trying to link the two places, right? Everyone thought it might be at the Wright Brothers Museum or Memorial. And I say, no, it's not there. It's a national park. He would never let us to go and try to dig it up. It's against the law. It's impossible, right? But he linked the two places because you're able to do the same letters and the same distances at Roanoke and using also the Wright Brothers Memorial. That's what I'm trying to say, is that there's two verifications in two different sites that link the two. It seems like every verse, for example, the verse, the number of lines in the verse is 21, right? 2-1. The flag dimensions of England is 2-1 to be able to do that. Every line has almost two meanings. Like the friends of octave is the Wright brothers, right? Or it could be treble and bass. Left hand plays bass, right hand plays treble.
Yeah, but one of those makes sense and the other one doesn't.
Right.
Like, one of them makes sense and it could be salt and pepper because I use those on my food, but that doesn't make any sense in context of the puzzle. The Wright brothers does.
Right. I was trying to focus on those two lines because that dent in his arm that's holding the watch is near those two lines, and the key is directly below it. And that's why he's trying to focus on the one, First colony, 1 o'clock, January, carnation, it's all one, And then the other thing I want to point out too was that he didn't use the word unconquerable. He used the word inconquerable. So he misspelled it by using an I, which happens to be the Roman numeral 1. So he's telling you to focus on that area. And then that missing word for resolution is trying to tell you to go out of those lines. And when you lay that flag on top of those 2 lines and create that flag on there, you're getting close to where the cast location is on the dirt, but it's not inside the field, it's outside the lines. That's why focusing on that center. The L is the center of the logo of the Lions Club. And the L is 50, so it's 50-50. And that's why I was just focusing on that.
I'm sorry, I'm just thinking.
No problem. And when I drew the lines for that memorial top view, it landed on that L, on that side of the memorial.
Here's I think what's confusing me and most people. So
Okay.
we've used the verse, we've used 3/4 of this verse to get to this ballpark, right? We've used up till under that. That's the last thing we've used so far. Right. And we've got 1/4 of it left. We've got 1/4 of the verse left. Now you've used part of it to get to first base, and that's fine. Now the rest of the stuff you used to get to first base, not in the verse, not at all. Like we're basically ignoring the verse at this point to put us into another location. Like the verse is telling you, under that which may be last touched or first seen standing, look in this direction and dig. Like it literally tells you that. Look there and dig. It puts you in a place, says look in this direction and dig. And you've gotten to the point, and then you've been like, no, Byron, you're wrong. What we need to do is go backwards. For why? Because it kind of, with the shapes, does it make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah. I want to elaborate that a little bit. The word under can mean below, and the location that I have on that first baseline is below first base, between home plate and first base. It's below first base.
If I were to tell you to dig a hole beneath a bench, where are you going to dig the hole?
I know.
Not 50 feet that way. Underneath the bench. So yeah, I get it. I get what you're saying. Like you can say distance wise something is below something else, right? But in this context, like I feel like a lot of the times when people try to find alternate uses for words or alternate uses for phrases, it's really easy to do that when you take it out of the context of the puzzle and you insert it into another context. But in the context of the puzzle, he's telling you, go here, go here, go here, go here, go here, stand here, look here, dig here. Like that's the context of the puzzle. Those are the directions. So when you get to first base, I'm right along with you. I'm right there with you. And I don't think I was looking at Google Earth because I was trying to figure out how you were using north to get back to home plate. And I can't figure it out because if you're standing at first base, yes, you can look north and see, you look north and kind of be in line with the Wright brothers. You're also seeing the airport, but home base is east of you. Unless you're at the middle, I'm curious if I'm confused at the ball field you're at. You're not at are you at the ball field closest to the Lions Club?
No, the
middle ball field. Okay, There's where my confusion came in. Okay, yeah, all right, yeah. So if you're standing at first base of the middle ball field and you're looking north, yeah, home plate is north. Okay, cool. Right. We have that fixed.
Right.
which I guess
thought
would make sense because the other ball field wouldn't have the running lane.
correct.
It's a softball field.
Yes. And then the third softball, the third field is a
Is
tee,
new.
but
It's
it's
new.
too new. It wasn't
Yeah.
there. And then when you look at the scarecrow, his ears are offset. So it's pointing out to go to the elevated field. The stomach with that same field, representation. That particular one on the right is a little bit elevated than the one on the left. And then the garnet itself is offset to those middle lines. And the garnet is like first base. It's like representing first base. That first base would be inside those two lines, right?
Mhm.
And the garnet is also rectangular, just like the England flag. So when I was listening to your podcast about the fair people and you want to go with the heritage, I focused on what about England? What about England is that says England, right?
Mhm.
Their national animal is the Leo, the lion, Barbary lion to be exact. Their flag is St. George, and whatnot. And then the other thing I want to point out, and this is the reason why I was hanging this flag. Is the Union Jack that we got in the corner, right?
Uh-huh.
So as you see that cross that's in the middle, you could imagine that this side is those first base lines. And you create this same flag on that corner, line it up on that corner of that first base lines. It's gonna make a flag, right? And you're gonna have this corner down here low that is not drawn on the soil. And then you look back at that ferry, this diagonal on that lower right quad is his leg. It's pointing toward where the cask is. And that angle too, right, is making the same shape as the Westcott sign. It's funny that all of this has to do with right angles and triangles that are right. And if you design it right, it's 90 degrees. And then the other two angles are 60 and 30. So the Wright Brothers Museum or Memorial is on a 90-foot hill, and it's a 60-foot granite tower. And it's a triangle symbol at the top. So it's trying to tell you to stay at the right angles, right? And also, the other hint was that watch, even though it's circular, if you make the watch into a grid, just like this flag, that line points to the number one, the 1 o'clock.
The
Right. The minute hand points to 1 on that stopwatch. So you have 1, 2, 3 in that corner of that watch, and that first hand points to the number 1, which is almost the same angle as that ferry's leg. And when you draw that, the other thing is that it actually gives you distances of where the cast is. See, for you to figure out what something is in space, you need the x-axis, which is the straight line. You need the y-axis, which is also another cross. And then you need the z-axis, right, which cuts the line at a diagonal. 3 points to find something in space. So the fairy's leg is that z-axis, and the flag of the British are your x and y. So it's trying to point to a corner outside of the lines in the dirt of that baseball field. And if you go by the dimensions of the standard baseball measurements, the cask is 3 feet from that corner. 3 feet from that corner of the first base lines that I pointed out, and it's at an angle of almost 45 degrees. So he made this puzzle to point towards that point outside of the lines, halfway down the first base and home plate line, which happens to be exactly the L at the Wright Brothers Memorial, halfway through that side of the, if you look at that memorial again, that triangle kind of looks like a baseball field. If this is home plate, that's first base line, and that's third base line.
Well, like, okay, all right. I just got to interject that you're talking about a bunch of geometric shapes using basic geometry. Like, you're
Right.
you're saying that all of this matches, but it all matches because mathematically it has to. Like, this, if you were to segment this cup into 4 different segments, they would each be 90-degree angles.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it, yeah, 2 geometric shapes work the same geometrically, right? And the only reason angles have anything to do with this is because you introduced angles.
Yeah, the spoon is the same angle as that fairy's leg. The number 1 minute hand is also the same angle as that spoon. That pea pad spoon, and the spoon is cut directly in half.
I don't think it is. I think that spoon is at a 45-degree angle, and 1 o'clock is not a 45-degree angle. And the same with the Union Jack. The line that extends from the Union Jack in between the 90-degree angle is at a 45-degree angle. If you were to overlay a clock on the Union Jack, it would be pointing at the 2, not the 1.
Yeah. The vicinity that I'm trying to tell you where it may be located is in that corner. If you go either 45 or a diagonal outside of those 2 first base lines, you're going to be within 2 to 3 feet of that spot. Like, you know, we can probe it or scan it, and the cast would be there.
Right, but from my point of view, on the other side of this coin, if you were to follow the verse the way you're following it, you would be standing at home plate, you would be looking in a specific direction, and you would dig.
Oh, I see.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
The rest of this stuff, I mean, I would say I get it, but a lot of this I don't get a lot of the connections that you're making, and I don't want you to think I'm like poking fun or anything.
No.
I'm trying really hard to understand math, just like John Palencar. Math, not my forte. But
I watch your podcast with all the other guys together, and I watch you read about how people get offended whenever you try to be critically thinking about their comments, and people take it to heart because they work so long and they think they're right. And what I'm trying to interject into this is that we've waited 40 years, right? And it seems like we went into the same pattern. And I said, let's plug in something a little bit different. let's try different points of that baseball field, because we pretty much know that it's that baseball field. Alex Sweeney pointing out that rebus, and it just matches that a lot of the verse and the picture itself matches at that baseball field. So if you know you're at the baseball field, we'll try home plate. Doesn't fit. Try first base. It doesn't fit. Try that middle lane, those two lines that I'm talking about, and then laying that flag down. It might be there. I'm just trying to interject a possibility so that we can look. But the other thing that I kept running into is that these symbols and these particular geometry that I'm talking about is located on that baseball field on Roanoke, and it's also located at the Wright Brothers Museum. Same thing over and over again. Like the three fingers that it has, doesn't have four. That four-leaf clover, it represents 4 words: hope, love, luck, and faith. And then when I drew that quad, that 4-block flag onto the memorial, the corner that I want the cast to be on, the word fate is on that corner. So the 4-leaf clover, look at the fairy, the leg that points to that corner. I may be wrong about the angle itself, but I think that resolution word that says the anagram is out of the lines or outlines, you have to get out of the 2 lines that you see, and that's the only two lines that are on a baseball field, is the running lane, runway, and that's headed towards first base, dead center, 50-50. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah, because the symbol of that logo of those 2 lines are symmetrical, the 2 faces, and that L cuts it right in the middle. Your T, man, that scarecrow, you can look at it as 2 L's together. You can look at the England flag as a whole bunch of L's together because they're all right angles. Right. You know what I mean? And it goes with the theme, it goes with the color, and it goes with the 2 or 3 locations on top of the scarecrow itself.
Have you ever been to Roanoke?
No. I would love to go there. I would love to go there.
What's stopping you from going? Time off work? There's a nursing shortage right now, so.
I know. I made a post. My original idea was that it was a T-ball field because it's a 50-foot field, and that's what the L represented. And then when I posted it, Eric from your admin told me about how no one's allowed to. Eric Thomas from the Facebook page.
Yeah, not mine, but he's an admin of another group.
Oh.
Kind of a dick.
Sorry. Anyway, he told me that the person that's running that park said that anybody who tries to dig there will get sued. You know what I mean?
Not really. They'll be prosecuted, not sued, but I don't know. It's not a national park, so I don't think there's really. I don't want to say that. So yeah, okay, we'll just go with that. Yeah, you'll get prosecuted. But like people have made headway. If you just go out there and dig, then yeah, you'll be in trouble. But people have made headway talking to them.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it's not. It's just shit. I made a little headway. But yeah, like I just don't know. I can't get past like this. The problem with Roanoke, like this ball field idea is pretty new, right? People haven't been looking at it very long, and since the podcast episode came out, nobody's really dug. because the parks are like, we're going to arrest you. So nobody's really explored anything in this park. We scanned a little bit of it. We found an anomaly. That was about all that's been done to this park. So before this park, people were looking at all other places in Roanoke. Nothing ever really sort of made sense. Once we found this park, things made sense. And I feel like we haven't spent enough time looking at the obvious things to say, like, we've exhausted all of our options. Like, I actually really, really like your first base. I'm stuck at that, man. I'm stuck at 10 minutes into your talk. I was like, yes, I want to dig with you right now. We will go back and dig at first base. And then I got lost. But I wonder, go ahead.
I know you mentioned, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
I know you mentioned that someone dug up home plate.
Yeah.
Right? Someone. We don't know.
Someone. It wasn't me. It honestly wasn't me.
That's right. It didn't produce anything.
Nope.
And then you also mentioned that other locations on that field were dug up, and they got angry because it caused damage to the baseball, right? And I think it was like multiple bases they've tried: the second base, the third base, the first base.
Not that I know of. So all I know of is there is. So I know that home plate was dug up, but home plate was removed, and literally right underneath home plate was dug up. Nothing around it. Like in Boston, the cast was just in front of home plate. That wasn't touched. Nothing around home plate was dug. When they dug home plate, they wanted to dig inside of home plate's hole so that they could fill it back in and reset home plate. Right. That was important. So I don't know of any other holes that those guys dug on those fields. I know that there's a local in Roanoke that basically digs everything that the cops are trying to catch. And they've said that person has dug multiple holes in that park, but I think it's focused on the other field, the field closer to the Lions Club, and I think it's been focused around like batters boxes and stuff.
I see. The way I also thought about was that Byron didn't want to ruin the baseball field in any way. That this outer portion that I pointed out, if you dug a hole and you throw it back on, no one will ever know that you were there.
Well, I mean, digging a hole in front of home plate in Boston kind of throws that out. Like I think because we spent so long, like nobody here knows Byron. Like nobody involved in the hunt knows Byron, and we've elevated Byron on this platform of like he wanted us to experience these cities, and he wanted us to learn its history, and he wanted us to respect the parks, and we don't actually know any of that. Right? That's just the platform we've elevated him on. And then Boston comes out of the ground and you're digging in front of home plate in a ball field. Like he obviously didn't give a shit about that park. So I don't want us to box us in with assumptions of, he wouldn't want to destroy X or he wouldn't want to destroy Y. When in the end of the day, Byron's a businessman trying to publish a book. He's going to do what he wants.
I see.
You know?
The other thing I want to point out too is the ratio that I kept pointing out, 2-to-1, 2-to-1. If you look at where the rebus is, it's got the key ring, it's got two keys. And then when you look at the other side, you only have one key, right? So there are 5 symbols below that left arm, that right arm. I keep calling it left because medically that's the left arm.
I get you.
So that's the left arm. So you can take the key and those 5 symbols and make a pentagram. You see that the pentagon? You can make right? Okay. That second bell, that's big. Right there. Right? Has a clapper or that thing that hangs at the bottom. That has 2 lines, and it also has an irregular rectangle. The reason why I pointed that bell out is that you can draw another the pentagon using the arms, head, that bell, and the bubble to the left. And you can also draw a third pentagon using that bell, the small bell, the jewel, the bubbles, and all three pentagons connect with that bell, that second big bell with that irregular rectangle. So if you look at it as the flag and you have to go to the angle to that corner, just like how the four-leaf clover has that irregular lip that comes out from the stem, it's the rectangle of the flag pointing to that corner of that field. The only place that has a corner is those two first baselines.
Yeah.
That's why I'm trying to say the three pentagons or three they look like home plate. There's three home plates that come together because the home plate's five-sided, and that bell intersects all three.
I feel like, so you have a commenter, his name is Epic Lunch Squad, and he's on YouTube, and he's one of my favorite commenters, and I feel like I would love to get him in on this conversation because he's a high school student and like he probably understands the geometry. I really want to get him. As soon as I saw his name, I lit up because he's one of the people I really want to get on one of these to talk.
Yes. Okay, no problem.
But yeah, I can't get over it, man. I can't get over it. I just want to take up first base still.
I know.
Somebody made a comment based on what we were talking about before that about the Boston field. Tim, I think, made the comment that when the cast was buried, the Boston field was under renovation, and that might be why Byron buried it, because like it's not going to damage the field to bury it while it's under renovation. But that doesn't matter because it doesn't take into account like you got to dig it back up, and the field's not going to be under renovation when you dig it back up. So like it's
right.
I feel like we put ourselves in a box when we guess at Byron's motivations.
Okay, but I was trying to point out some of the wordplay that was coming into the verses, right? For example, those two lines that I'm talking about, and you have two lines. I was talking about how this is a running lane to first base, right? And the running lane can be considered runway for a baseball player, the runway of a plane, just like the Wright brothers. And then there's also the fact that we got to go to the halfway mark. That L is on that logo, and it's also on the Wright brothers memorial of that missing word out of that phrase, that those last two lines. And if you anagram it, it says out of the lines. You know what I mean? It's location. You can draw the same picture on the memorial, and you can draw it on top of the baseball field. There's a lot of symbolism, or a lot of things that you can make out of. For example, the coordinates, right? The 36 and the 75. Okay, the 36 is again 2-1. That running lane is 3 feet wide. So if you make the flag, it'll be 3 by 6. The 3 is by a 6. And then the batter circles, which also line up with the location I'm pointing out, are 75 feet apart from each other. So it looks exactly like the two big spots on his elbows. And if you flip them upside down, the field is his skirt.
What kind of nurse are you?
Oh, I'm a urgent care nurse.
Urgent care nurse. You're like an RN or?
RN, yeah.
RN,
I used to work in ER, but then I moved down to urgent care. Yep.
I used to work in urgent care. It sucked. I was a doctor's assistant, but not a physician's assistant. Like I picked up laundry and shit. let's say you get a patient into urgent care, right? And have you ever gotten a patient into urgent care and the doctor's treating them and they're treating them and nothing is getting fit? Well, you said you were in ER, so ER is probably better. You get a patient into ER, the doctor's treating them, nothing's getting fixed, and they just keep treating and keep treating and keep treating. Patient isn't getting any better. The patient dies, right? And then you find out the problem was something completely unrelated to what the doctor was treating, right? The doctor was interjecting his bias. Like he wasn't looking elsewhere. He was focused on one thing, treating the one thing when the problem was something completely different. And I kind of feel like you're approaching this puzzle in that way, where you've accepted the lines and the angles and you're making things fit into the lines and the angles because that's your assumption, right? And because there's not a lot of like black and white information to support it. It's just it's just you're taking an assumption and then you're finding things that verify that assumption, as opposed to looking at the problem as a whole and seeing what commonalities it has. Does that make sense?
Yes. I wanted to point out something about your podcast. You this one guy was dead set on that it was at the Wright Brothers Memorial. He tried to convince you for a good 15 minutes for where he's located, because your question was, how did he bring you all the way to Roanoke and then warp you back to Wright Brothers Memorial? And I said, you're right. It doesn't make any sense because all the other puzzles walk you to the site.
Right.
It doesn't warp you to anywhere else. But the funniest thing is that when you're trying to look at this baseball field, right, can you repeat the same process somewhere else? And why it keeps leaning on the Wright Brothers Memorial. For example,
well, I mean, I can find the same patterns that you found somewhere else.
Like for example, that phrase, beyond circle and square, right? On the Wright Brothers Memorial, there's a windsock that goes toward the left side of the memorial. It's a circular area that they put up a windsock, so when a plane tries to land, they'll know what direction it is. It's a clear circle, right? And then it reminds me of that club that's on his arm. Below that is the rebus of that lion. But on the Wright Brothers Memorial, it's actually a triangle of a forest. And another kind of square is something that you do for carpentry. It's an L. It's a triangle called a square to cut wood. You've seen it, right? That is there. It's circle and square at the Wright Brothers Museum. And then that L that I kept pointing out on the Wright Brothers Memorial side of that quote, the L is the square, and there's an O right before it, circle and square. So there's like 1, 2, and then 3 is the actual diamond of the baseball field. It's a square with a circle in the middle of it. You know, you could also represent the Elizabethan garden, right? And then I also noticed that the Elizabethan garden looks exactly like the flag. It cuts as a cross, and then the vegetation makes those angles like the Union Jack. So you got multiple over and over repeating itself to use the flag, the color, the squares, the angles, even the verse. But the thing that really caught me was that last podcast with the anagram guy. And he says, you know, all the lines, you can find something. And when I threw it in and it said outside the lines, it just was inspirational, right? But I really feel that Alex and Sweeney, he's
Mhm.
right. That's the baseball field that you're supposed to be on. And then we just gotta locate where on that baseball field.
There's two different baseball fields. You know that, right? Like he's talking
Yes.
about the other one.
No.
Yeah. He's talking
No.
about the one by the Lions Club.
But that's a softball field.
Just telling you
Oh
which ball
man.
field he was at. There was nothing. We scanned the ball field. We scanned the infield of the ball field that you're in, and there was nothing.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing but clay. Like there was no. I'm not good with a GPR, and most people who are good with the GPRs, they're not great. But
Right.
there was nothing. There was no sort of anomaly. Nothing. No rock. No voids. No nothing
Mm-hmm.
in your field.
Right.
So yeah,
I was trying.
different field.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh man. I was trying to take his idea because I really think he's on something with that Rebus, Westcott, the location, even the road driftwood.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the shape of that ferry and whatnot, and then try to enhance his theory of where it could be. That's what I was trying to do.
Let me explain his end, because I don't think he really did a good job of explaining his end in that video.
Oh, he told me that he. Go ahead. Sorry.
The reason he was at home plate was 100% because of the verse. He last touched and first thing standing to him was if you're playing baseball, you're standing in a batter's box, like you're up for bat, right? The first thing you're gonna see is home plate, right? You're not gonna touch it. It's not going to be the first thing you touch. First thing is batter's box. You don't touch home plate when you're running to first. And you can, but you generally don't. I think you can. I don't remember. I don't know. Anyway, and it's the last thing that you may touch, right? You don't have to touch it. You could get out. You could strike out. Whatever. It's the first thing you're going to see, not necessarily the last thing you're going to touch, but you might. And but his big thing was. It says under that which may be last touched or first thing standing. So he's taking that to be home base because first thing you see, last thing you might touch. Look north at the wing because you're standing in the batter's box, looking at the wing, and dig to achieve by dauntless and inconquerable determination your goal. In the your goal part to him was most important because when you're playing baseball, what's your goal? It's not to get on first. It's to get home. That's your goal. And he was thinking that was telling you to dig your goal. Like if you're on a ballpark, dig your goal.
Right.
Where the other guy, I forget his name. It was Sean. Yeah, Sean was talking about a football field, and he was focused on it in the exact same way. Like if you're playing playing football, your goal is to get a touchdown. So. I feel like that's a very important line that's ignored a lot. Like your goal. If you're at a ball field, you have no other option for a goal than home plate.
Right.
I don't know, but I
Yeah, I got you. The one other thing I wanted to point out too was that when you look at the elbows of the scarecrow. Mm-hmm. They're a little bit different, right? One is smaller as compared to the one on the left. I call it left because it's medical.
Yeah.
And it's bigger. So the one on the right only has one line in his gauntlet, in his glove area, one. And when you look all the way to the other side, that one is bigger and it has two lines with the key hanging from it.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the reason why I kept saying, where on a baseball field is there two lines? And why does it emphasize to go to the left side? So out of those two ball fields, you want to look at the one that's on the left, not the one closest to the.
I feel like we're talking about a lot of 90-degree angles and ignoring the fact that there's only one place on a baseball field where two lines meet at a 90-degree angle.
Yeah.
Home plate.
Yes. The point, the beginning point. Yeah. But it's a diamond, right? And there's
Oh yeah, I guess it
four.
wouldn't be I guess it
Yeah.
wouldn't be a perfect 90-degree angle.
Yeah. It'd be a square all the way around. They're all 90s.
Yeah, is it a 90? It is a 90-degree angle.
Yeah. And then 90-degree angle looks like an L. Another
Okay.
L. And then a square that you cut wood with, or a line with it, and a square,
I don't know sports.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, yeah. But um, I I had I I have to admit I was a little bit nervous coming on to explain this,
wow,
and
you
then
did
I got
fine.
stumbled around. All right, thanks.
I hope you had fun. I had fun.
Oh no,
I
no,
didn't
it's great.
understand a lot of it, but it was like a math lesson to me.
It's
But it's like, so we got like 10 minutes left before I have to go, before Rachel kills me. Is there anything else you wanted to say or talk about, or?
great. Uh, I really feel that when you guys are all together and you're helping with this endeavor, you'll be very successful. And I also think that uh, this Roanoke treasure is your next find.
It's
For
got,
sure.
well, I mean, John said it was supposed to be, so.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of symbolism and ideas that are being kicked around. So instead of just trying to dig at one space, maybe my little spot could get into that category.
Well, I
You
tend to, I
know what I
like
mean?
to take people who are people, especially people who take the time to come on like this. I always
Yes.
make a mental note in my head of people who come on and talk about their ideas, and then whenever I go to the city, I always send them a message. And if they haven't had anybody check it out, I always try to check it out. I don't dig a hole or anything, but
Right.
I try to check it out for them. So I'll promise you that next time I'm in Roanoke, I just went to Roanoke, so I don't know when I'll go back, but when I do, I'll shoot you a message and I'll look at your spot. You'll have to,
Yeah.
all you'll have to do is send me an image with like an X. Be like, go here.
Okay.
And I'll look at it for you. But I agree with you that teamwork is becoming important. But I just think it's hard for people, just like this conversation, right? Like it was hard for me to put my ideas aside to get sort of in your mind and see the puzzle from the way you see it. I feel like that's especially hard when you get a community of like 12,000 people.
I
But it's
sort of
getting
wish
better.
that I was in front of you with the paperwork that I have and the
It
pictures that I
doesn't
have.
help. It doesn't help. People do
Okay.
that a lot. Yeah. Because you get just as nervous. Like people, I do this all the time. So I don't get
Yeah.
nervous sitting in front of a camera, knowing like 100 people are watching or whatever. I don't get nervous doing it. But other
Right.
people do. When you sit in front of somebody with all of your ideas, even if you've got them all well laid out, you get nervous and you get scatterbrained, right? And it gets difficult to explain stuff. So I guess the person you're talking to just has to sort of learn to pick and choose and ignore what you're
Right.
saying here because you're just nervous, that kind of stuff.
Right.
But yeah, being in front of people doesn't help. I promise you that.
Okay. One last thing I want to say.
Sure.
I want to show one last picture. Not only did I bring that flag, my own home flag, right, to try to say about my theory of where it is, but I realized that you have the same symbol.
Yes, we do.
Your cask is there.
I actually have a shovel. I have a shovel where I painted
Right.
your treasure is this way with a little arrow. Yeah,
Yes.
that's cute.
I think that symbol relates exactly to mine.
Nice.
It's fantastic. And
Yeah.
if you want to look at the math, take a look at your secret symbol. It's fantastic because that was very inspiring.
Just because of what you said before, I'm guessing you're on Discord and not Facebook, right? Or you're on Facebook
I'm
too, but you're
on
mainly on
Facebook.
Discord?
I'm on Facebook that says the Boston Treasure with the number 40 next to it. That's the symbol on this Facebook group that I am on. I had to get permission
Okay,
from
that's
the
the main.
admin.
That's the
Yeah,
main
that's
one.
it.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
you said you were talking to somebody else, and I figured you were on Discord. You said you were talking to Alex, and I figured you were on Discord because Alex has had like he's been pretty active in the Roanoke thread on Discord. So I figured you were talking to him there.
Alex actually direct messaged me, and we were able to talk one-on-one with each other.
Yeah.
And he's awesome. He's still with that home plate. And I thought about, hey, Newton found gravity because an apple hit him in the head, but Einstein wrote the formula.
Yeah.
And E = mc² to prove gravity. So Alex was there. He's at the right spot. He knows that's gravity. And then I made some calculations to prove that he's right. It's there.
Just on the wrong field. We just got to go to the other field now.
I know.
It sucks. Oh, well.
It's a combo, verse and picture. Take a look at both. We'll see. I just want to tell you that shout out to Alex for sure.
Yeah.
And shout out to you guys. You're fantastic. You're very inspiring. I am still looking forward for you guys to find that St. Augustine puzzle.
We'll find it eventually. They've got the coolest signs. They got the coolest signs up on your ball field now. I'm trying to find one. I don't know if have you seen the signs they put up? I took like a selfie next to them. Oh, somebody else took it and didn't send it to me.
Is it lethal force used if you use a shovel?
No, it says something like no digging for buried treasure in our ball fields. I was like, that's so specific. I want to steal that sign, but I can't.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
All right, man. Thank you for coming on. It was nice meeting you too. If you ever need anything, just reach out. Okay. Hang out for a second. I'm going to end the stream.